You're listening to TVOSJ. Read it. Read it.
What am I reading?
Can you see it?
You're listening to TVOSJ, the voice of San Joaquin Community Radio, 89.5 FM, KBCCC Tracy. We are a local nonprofit multimedia community broadcasting network. And now, the Chase Car Guys.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Chase Car Guys. I'm here along with my best friend and dear buddy of mine, Mr. Roy Morales. We have a great show going to happen tonight. We're affiliated with a great hockey organization. We have the CEO and NBC and all those monikers for the
He wears all the hats.
all the hats. So I'm going to toss it right now over to Roy and let him introduce our guest.
Oh yeah, wonderful. Thanks for tuning in today. We have a great show planned for you, and our guest today is Benjamin Gonzalez.
Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Rick. Thank you,
Benjamin.
Roy. Thanks for having me.
Benjamin Gonzalez is the founder and president of actually, he's going to tell you the history behind this, but he's the founder and president of the current Central Valley Surf Soccer Club.
Yes.
And of course, he's wearing his wearing his logo there, and he has quite a story, a very rich story. That of how he got involved with soccer, how his kids got involved with soccer, and a soccer organization that you envisioned many years ago, and actually made it all come to fruition. And so we're really proud to have Benjamin here today. And we were going to have Vince Meyer, the director of coaching for Central Valley Surf Soccer, but something came up. Let us know what came up, because it is good news for.
Yeah, he got a call this afternoon that his oldest daughter, is about to have a baby, his grandson. So yeah,
wonderful.
so
Is it his first grandchild?
It would be his first grandchild.
Oh,
yeah.
well,
So
wonderful.
he's down
yeah.
in
Well,
Modesto.
We'll have to let him off the hook then this time. Anyway, and we'll talk about, as Benjamin tells us about the organization itself, he will share about Vince Meyer's role in the club soccer. One little thing before I turn it over to Ben, and we'll ask him some questions, is I just want to say this. I know through Facebook, I know that we started our relationship about a little over 5 years ago. And just to tell you a quick story, I was at a community event. We were actually on the rooftop of the Stockton Hotel, and they were having an event on the rooftop. And I first met Benjamin there, and so we started talking. And then I found out, as we talked more and more about what our passions were, that his real passion was youth soccer. And from that day forward, and it's been 5 years, man, and I know you've been doing this for a long, long time, but from that day forward, we have formed a great relationship, not only between us personally, but along with Chase Chevrolet. I remember introducing the Monarchas Soccer Academy to John Ferriolo, and letting him know that there was an opportunity for us to assist you guys, in your vision, being part of that.
Yes.
And we've had great. We just had a great relationship, throughout the years. And I just want to thank you for your dedication to the youth, and you're going to talk a lot about that.
Thanks to you and Chase Chevrolet for your support. I know we've had some unforgettable moments together. Some of them
unforgettable moments.
Some including the professional teams that have come to town a couple of times, and you guys have done a fantastic job of hosting autograph signings and helping support those events here in the city that have drawn thousands and thousands of people.
It's a great audience. It's a great audience for Chase Chevrolet. The soccer, I mean, soccer's on fire, and you know that.
It's
You've
a
been
big
with it.
soccer town.
It's a
for
big
sure.
soccer town. You know,
Yes.
a lot of families.
The
all
valley
involved.
itself is huge on
hot
soccer.
market.
Yeah.
Yes, we need more soccer fields.
Yes.
But anyway, what I thought we would start off with, Ben, because I think the story about your organization is really amazing. And I think it's really important for the people to know out there that are listening, you know, how it all began, you know, what the vision was, and how this thing developed into what it is today, which is probably the premier youth soccer organization in the Central Valley. So start from the beginning on how you first became involved and how this thing kind of developed along the way.
Yeah, sure. About 22 years ago, just pretty close to that, I was driving down over in South Stockton by Van Busker Park, and my oldest son, who's now 27, he was 5 at the time, noticed some soccer games going on in the distance, and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Dad, look, there's some games over there." He said, "I want to play soccer." So somehow I played soccer as a kid.
Right.
Not an organized soccer,
Right.
just for fun,
Yeah.
street soccer. But he somehow knew at the young age of 5 that whatever was going on over there
Yeah.
was soccer, right?
Yeah,
He
right.
said, and we watched soccer. That's how he knew that, because we
Yeah.
watched it on TV and stuff.
Right.
We followed it. But so he said, "I want to go play soccer." And so I turned the car around and drove over to where the games where the games were going on, and got out and walked over a few feet, and I asked a gentleman that was there with a group of kids, and I asked him if he knew where my son could find a team to join.
Right.
And he asked me how old he was, and I told him, and he said, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "I have that age group." He goes, "I could, and I'm looking for players, so he can play on this team." So the first guy that I walked up to just happened to be a coach.
There you go.
And then so next thing you know, I was really excited about my son playing an organized sport, right?
Right,
I was
right.
excited about the opportunity for him,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to help the coach a little bit. Like during practices, I'd chase balls down for them and pick up cones and doing those sort of things. Anything
Yeah.
I could do to help him out,
Right.
Because I knew it was. I felt that it was a big job for him, right?
Right.
As it is for all coaches.
Right.
So then, a few weeks later, or a couple months later, he comes to me and says, "Man," he says, "I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to move out of the country. I'm gonna have to go back to Mexico. Something came up, his personal life, and he had to go back to Mexico." And so that's how that all started. Basically, I ended up taking over the team.
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm coaching that team and
Right.
continue to coach it. And then I joined another couple of gentlemen, local coaches here, that were also involved with the same league, and we put our heads together and we formed a couple of teams that participated in the competition within that league. It was it's a local rec program here called Central Valley Youth Soccer League.
Right.
And then after that, so I coached at the local rec level for about 7 years, 6 to 7 years, before I decided that I wanted to coach at a higher level and be a competitive coach.
Right.
And have my kids play at a higher level than
Right.
just the local rec.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so as soon as when I decided to play, to go to a competitive soccer club and start coaching there, I went to another local organization that's still around, and but the challenge for me at the time was that they were not into the higher levels of the game, where I had heard, I'd done some research back then, and I knew that there were events and clubs that catered to promoting that focused on the development of the players for college opportunities. And the concept of that just really caught my mind. It was something that really interested me. The fact that you could play soccer and go to college, go play college and help fund your education through that, right? I thought that whole concept was just amazing.
Right.
So after talking to that organization's leadership and going over some of my ideas, I didn't feel like they were receptive enough. And I decided that it was time for me to start my own soccer club that would have as a focus the development of players and for future collegiate opportunities, developing student athletes, right. For college. And so it started out small. I only had 3 teams at the time. I had my oldest son's team, and then by that time his younger brother was playing as well.
Right.
So and then shortly after, the youngest of my sons was playing at the time as well. So I basically started out with 3 teams, which was the minimum required to start a soccer club.
Right.
At the time.
Right.
A competitive soccer club.
Now, what year was that?
This was in 2013.
Wow.
I'm sorry, pardon me. In 2006.
2006.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was just say it grew pretty quick.
Yeah, so it was in 2006, and we started out as Stockton Monarchas.
Now, what's Monarchas mean?
Monarchas was the name of the... Monarchas is a professional team out of Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It just so happens that the coach that originally gave me, or I inherited the team from years before that,
Yeah, right.
was that was the name of the team.
I'll be darned.
And so somehow we hung on to that, right? It was like I was very fond of the name of the team,
Sure.
Monarchas, and
Right.
and I was out of respect to this coach's to his heritage, in a sense.
Right.
I kind of continued that.
Right.
But then, so then we started out as Stockton Monarchas, and we operated from about 2006 till about 2014 as Stockton Monarchas. As the club grew and we grew teams, we started growing teams. We got boys and girls teams, and I realized that, or we realized, myself and our leadership team, our board and our director of coach, Vince Meyer, we had a talk one day, and we realized that we felt that since our membership was made up of players and families from Merced all the way up to Elk Grove,
Right.
with the biggest chunk of them being from here, from the city, as they still are, from Stockton. But for many years, we've had people come to us from all over the Central Valley that we should rebrand ourselves to be more to have to really make those families that were from out of the area feel more welcome and more
Right.
proud to be a part of our organization, right? So we thought, okay, let's rebrand ourselves to Central Valley Monarchas Academy. And we operated as Central Valley Monarchas Academy for from 2014 until last year,
Right.
when we came across the opportunity to align ourselves with an amazing organization that is nationally known, as considered the best soccer club in the entire country. San Diego Surf is a huge soccer club that a few years back they started to expand around the country with affiliates, surf affiliates.
Right.
They've been expanding as they reach out to who they believe are the top organizations throughout the country, and they've brought those organizations under their wing as part of what is now called Surf Nation. Surf Nation, now we are now known as Central Valley Surf Soccer Club.
Right.
But Surf Nation has affiliate clubs from Hawaii Surf to New York Surf. There's Seattle Surf, Utah Surf, San Jose Surf here in Northern California.
So they're nationwide.
It's nationwide,
Yeah.
throughout the entire country, and they're doing fantastic job. It's a top-notch program. They've developed just an incredible numbers of athletes thousands that they put into college,
Right.
Into the national teams, the national team player pools, and so when they came to us last year and said, "Hey, we've heard of you guys. We know you're doing a great job." In particular, at the time, they felt that we were really strong on the boys' side,
Right.
and they were looking for a club in Northern California, in particular here in the Central Valley, to expand their
Right.
program, and they looked at us and they said, "You guys would be a good fit to
Right.
be part of Surf Nation," and we just couldn't pass up that opportunity.
Right.
Ben, what is your age group, from like 5 to 18 or
So we start at under 9.
under 9?
Under 9. So
Okay.
players that are 8 years old and
Yeah.
above, boys and girls, can participate in our program. And although we consider ourselves an elite soccer organization, we have in the last couple of years developed what we call a junior academy program, which caters to the grassroots, the youngers.
Right.
And so now we have teams that are playing at not locally, regionally, at a regional level.
Right.
They don't travel as much as the older
Right,
teams
sure.
that go to college showcase events,
Yeah.
throughout the state and even out of state in some cases. But so we're really focusing on. We have this passion for what we call the grassroots,
Right.
and teaching them from a very young age. The earlier, as with most sports, you're involved with hockey,
Right.
and you've been involved. I know you had
Yeah.
your kids
Right.
played as well,
Yeah.
sports. So the younger you get them started to in a higher and in a better environment,
Right.
the better their chances of developing to be
Sure.
a top level athlete.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Many parents think, well, I don't want to put in the trouble to have my kid play competitive anything until they're about 12 or 13, right?
Yeah.
By then it's
Too late.
it can be too late,
Yeah.
Well,
It's like
the key is, even with our sport, that when you decide to put a kid in at 12 and he hasn't played our sport or your sport, the kids at that level are like eons in front of them.
yes.
So
because-
that's probably what you run into.
Yeah, because we really feel, and I've read studies on this, the golden age of learning for kids in sports in particular is between that 8 and 12, right? That when they're 4 or 5, they're too young,
Right.
But as they reach that 7, 8 years old,
Right.
that's when they just absorb everything like sponges, and
Right.
and so trying to teach a 13-year-old things that they could have learned when they were 7 or
Right,
8,
right.
it's much more difficult,
Yeah,
and
makes
they
it more
almost fall
difficult.
behind.
Yeah.
And
And then that's not fun for them, and they quit probably. Not
Yes.
quit, or they just go play pickup soccer.
they get frustrated. Yeah, they see these other kids running circles around them,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And they go, and then they realize, oh, well, these kids have been playing since they were 5 years old,
Right.
or 7 or 8, right, at
Right.
a higher level. So the younger you get them involved, definitely the better. Our mission statement is basically that we seek to empower positive, contributing citizens and provide the best support and education to the youth soccer community. We have no doubt that our core values, integrity, discipline, responsibility, and work ethic promote a safe learning environment and enable all players to achieve short and long-term success.
Right.
So our focus day in and day out is not to win trophies or medals. Those,
Right.
I tell people, I have trophies up in my attic, right? That the ones that I didn't give away back then,
Oh, right.
back in the day.
Right.
Trophies and medals, they all end up in a box somewhere in an attic someday when your kids leave the house,
Right.
or you stop coaching, if you're a coach. But what never goes away is a good education and the experiences that kids learn on the field.
Making
right?
quality young men.
Yes.
I mean, it's a life I know in our what you're saying is exactly what I witness every day with our club. But it's not about our club tonight; it's about yours. But what I'm saying is these coaches and the people that are around them are mentoring these young men and women to become good, vital citizens and do the right things. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's a positive thing for any city to have, or anybody, that it keeps the kids focused on something good.
Yeah, we focus on teaching them the principles of integrity, discipline, respect, and work ethic, which are
Right.
things they're going to need
Right.
later
In
on in life.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They're not going to, like I said, the wins and losses,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I learned that myself. I remember the days when I was out there
It had to be a
losing
win.
my head with the
Yeah.
referees, right,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of a
yeah.
bad call, or
Right.
I wanted to win that
Yeah,
that trophy,
Right.
early on.
Right.
But through years of experience and everything that I've witnessed now, I long understood that what really matters
bigger
is their
picture.
development. There's a much bigger picture, and
Oh boy.
and I've been fortunate enough that this whole soccer thing, I thank God for the day that I got involved with soccer, because not only did it benefit my children, which was the original reason why I did it, right?
Right.
My son, his brother, his
Yeah.
youngest one.
Right.
I wanted them to play sports, but then through the process, we've touched hundreds and hundreds of
Yes.
of lives and
Right.
families, and in many cases, studies have shown that when a young man or a young lady is the first one to go to college in a family, that has a great effect on future generations.
Sure.
Right.
And so we're really proud of the work that we do every year. We continue to, our graduating classes are full of players, student athletes that move on to college, most of them on athletic and academic scholarships.
Right.
You
Do a
know,
great
my
job.
boys have been able to play at the
Right.
next level. All
Yes.
three of them went
Yeah.
on to play soccer after high school.
Right.
Yeah.
With my youngest one, just graduated last year, and he's playing in Arizona over at Ottawa University. It's a wonderful program over
Yeah.
there. And
Yes.
as a matter of fact, he just got back from Florida. They were at in the national championships.
Wow.
The NAA. The
Now, who coaches his team?
There's the Ottawa team.
Yeah, the Ottawa
It's
team.
Matt Gow. You
Yeah, that's
might
what I
have met
thought.
him.
Stockton Roots.
Coach Matt,
How
yeah.
about
And
Monarchus Roots?
He coached in
Sir?
our organization. So
Exactly.
did his assistant coach
Farrell?
David Stockton.
Oh, Stockton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Jordan
you also
Farrell
had
is in
Jordan-
Oakland. Is in charge of the
And
Oakland
he
Roots
was involved with your organization and coaching
as well. Yeah.
coaching. As
We've
well.
been very fortunate and blessed that throughout the years we have and continue to have an amazing coaching staff.
Yes.
We've Vince is the man in charge of our coaching staff.
Talk a little bit about Vince. Now,
Yeah.
when did you and Vince hook up with in your soccer organization?
We hooked up back in 2013,
Okay.
and we connected almost by chance in a sense,
Right.
but we immediately knew that we shared a passion for promoting athletes to the
Right.
next level.
Right.
And he was going through some of the same frustrations with the club that he was at before, where he was pushing for developing athletes into developing soccer players into collegiate athletes,
Right.
just like I had been frustrated before I started the club
Right.
with my previous organization. And so when he reached out to me and told me about the issues he was having with the organization, I felt like I was listening to myself years
Right.
back,
Yeah.
right? And I thought, yeah, he can definitely, he's got that mentality that I'm looking for
Right.
in a coach,
Right.
and someone that can help me with the organization,
Right.
get with the structure that I was putting in place at the
Right.
time.
Right.
And so he came on board not just as a coach of a team that he had at the time, a
Right.
boys team, but also as our director of coaches, someone that would be in charge of our coaches and our players as well. And so before he came on board, I was like doing everything, right?
Oh my God.
You know, dealing with
That's a
parents,
huge
coaches,
job. Yeah,
players,
Parents.
trying to run our events
Yeah.
because we run tournaments,
Right.
everything, lining fields. When he came on board, it was like I was able to take off a big load of that
Yeah.
and pass that along to him, and he's done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
And he continues to really be a leader for our coaches and our players. I'm these days I'm not even coaching in our club anymore
Right,
as I used to for many
Right,
years.
right.
I hung up my jersey
Right.
a couple years back, back in 2016. I'm still coaching at the high school level. I coach at Western Ranch High
Right,
School.
right, Western Ranch. Yeah.
But I focus more on the operations
Right.
and our events. I'm
Right,
our event
right,
director
right.
for our
Let
club.
me ask you this, coaches and players, okay? Because I think it's important. The history is really cool, but I think it's really important. Tell me this, okay? We're gonna start with. You started with when you started your organization, right? You started with 3 teams.
Right.
Yes.
That's what he
Okay.
said.
How many teams do you have now?
So right now we have we're still considered a fairly small club by
Really?
numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's clubs that are much bigger than us in Northern California.
Right.
But we're on a growth path to where we're hoping we already are bringing on some additional coaching staff in recent months. So we're gonna, by the time we have tryouts coming up in spring, we're looking to have roughly between 22 and 25 teams.
Wow.
So we'll be serving several hundred
And
families.
what's
and
the
players.
roster size?
The roster size is anywhere from 14 to 18
Wow.
players per team.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can multiply that by 20 or 22. That's a lot of kids that you're touching out there. You know?
A lot of kids.
And
We're not looking for size. We're
Right.
looking for quality.
Quality, yes.
yeah.
We want to.
And how many organizations are looking just for the numbers?
Oh.
You know they're out there.
Yeah, most of them are looking for the numbers
Right.
because to them, every player represents additional revenue,
Right.
in a sense.
Right.
To
Right.
most of them, right?
Right.
Yeah. So this is why our focus has not been necessarily on growth, but on putting the right structure together,
Right.
so that we can grow the right way.
And you have the same coach. All your coaches are all different human beings. However, what they teach and how they teach are pretty. If you go from one team in your organization to the higher level, or
As
you
they move up in age, yeah.
you're getting the same
Exactly.
basics.
Yeah, we have players that play in that help teams in different age groups at times, and so the way that we're set up and our curriculum is set up is that most players are able to go from one team to another and just they fit right in,
Right.
Because they know the system,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
And we have the main thing for us is quality of coaching. I mean, we have a wonderful coaching staff.
Right. I was going to ask you to talk
and
about
like
your
I said,
coaches. Yeah.
we've been blessed for many years with wonderful coaches, not just the ones that you have met.
Right.
You've met a lot of them.
Right.
You know, you've been to our events,
Yeah.
but our existing coaching staff is great. They're all always looking to educate themselves, getting courses.
Right.
We have tools to help them with their coaching education. Now that we're a part of Surf Nation,
I was going to say,
they
there's
have
probably more
some-
resources for
Oh,
you to use.
yes. Tons more resources for our coaches, for our players, for our families as well.
Yeah.
If you go on our website, I mean, there's different links on there. Our website is cvsurf.org, CV as in Central Valley,
Right.
surf.org.
Right.
And there's links there. There's a college link where families can go there and get all the information they need to basically learn about the collegiate recruiting process.
Right.
There's information on how to look for scholarships and
And
grants,
scholarships
all kinds of stuff.
with soccer. Again, I'm familiar with a different sport, but I've been to many seminars, not seminars, but you go to a tournament and they usually have recruiters there to talk. And I know with these kids like Toby here, big difference in your grade point average. I mean, to get a D1 kid to look at in our sport, they got to be 3.7 and above. They'll have, I shouldn't say they won't get picked, but they're going to have a multitude of colleges looking at them, where if you're even 3.3, that diminishes. That window diminishes down to a few less. So is that similar in your sport?
Not really. I think because there's a lot more soccer teams than perhaps there are more hockey
I see
teams,
what you're
right?
saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a much bigger pool
Right.
of,
Right.
of schools
Right.
and programs. So the requirements are not as strict, but yes, your academics are the number one factor. You could be a stud of a soccer player,
Right.
but if you're under a 2.0,
Right.
you're not even going to play high school soccer, right? Because
Right.
you can't play high school
Yeah.
sports unless you're at least
Right.
at 2.0.
Right.
Right.
But they do look at your academics because that tells the coaches that you're responsible.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
that
exactly
you have
correct.
that work ethic that they're looking for,
Right.
right?
Right.
Not necessarily because they care whether you're at a 3.7 or a 3.3 or a 3.3 versus a 2.9, but the lower your grade is, the less appealing you look
Right.
as a student athlete.
Right.
And they want to know that you're committed, because if they're going to recruit you to their program and you're barely making it in school, right? Barely at about a 2.0, for example, they're going to think twice about extending you an offer because they're not sure if
Yeah.
you're a good enough student or committed enough to stick it out for 4 years.
Right.
And they're going to go through all the trouble of bringing you under their program.
Yeah.
They don't want you to, after year one, drop out of school because you can't handle the load or
Right.
it's too much for you.
Right.
You can't keep up the grades, right?
Right.
So many factors why college coaches look for good academics from
Right.
students, and so we really have a focus on that on with our athletes.
Tell us about, and I've been to one. Tell us about your college night. You know, when you bring in the different colleges.
So we've held numerous college nights. What we do is we invite multiple college coaches
Right.
from different divisions of play, from JC to
Right.
D1, right? And they come out as a panel of coaches, and we invite our membership,
Right.
the families
Families,
of high school age players. The younger ones also can
Yeah,
attend, but
yeah.
we really tell the older ones they have to go, and that's where they hear. They're able to get information firsthand from these college coaches about the recruiting process.
Right.
And one thing is to go on our website or get a handout from us, as we have, because we have college handouts for our
Right,
members.
right.
One thing is to get a handout or have to go on the website and read about it. Another thing is to hear it
Right.
directly from the
Right,
horse's mouth, right?
yeah.
And so these events are really nice because these college coaches are able to let these players and families know exactly what it takes to be a college athlete.
Right.
Sometimes these players can tend to tune out their parents and their coaches
Sure.
because they're hearing the same thing. Oh, you got to have good grades.
Right, right,
You
right.
got to
When they hear
work
it from the
hard.
coach, yeah.
But when they hear it from a college coach saying, if you don't have grades, the
Right.
grades,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
even bother writing
Right,
to me,
right,
right?
right.
Don't waste my time and yours.
Right.
So that's why we hold those events, as they're informational, but they're also kind of inspirational in a way for those players that are looking
Yeah.
to play at the next level.
Nice.
And they're really neat. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he's going to do his PR here.
Yeah, we got to do a little because now we're a FM station. We have to get these in for the FCC. So here it goes. TVO Jesse, the voice of San Joaquin Community Radio's 89.5 FM KBCC Tracy. We're a local nonprofit multimedia community broadcasting network. And that's a cool thing. Not to get away from you for a second, Ben, but it's a cool thing that now we're on FM. We're just in Tracy right now, but later this year, we're supposed to come on here in Stockton and also in Lodi. So this station is moving forward, but it's all nonprofit. So if you love the stuff that we give, we have many, many variety of programs on this station. So if you're interested in doing a little donation, it could be whatever you spare. Nobody's turned away. Get a hold of the station, and we'll get you through the process. But now we're going back to Ben. Go ahead,
There you
Roy.
go. How about tell us I mean, it's a, I know that you said, when you say 20, 23 teams, to me, I think that's enormous. But you have to have, it's like with Vince and the other staff that you have, to be able to pull off everything that you need to put off. Of course, you have to have, great coaches to be able to depend on and all those things, and you've talked about all those things. Tell us, there are a couple of major tournaments that you hold throughout the year that help you to run your organization.
Yes.
Tell us first about the Champions Cup.
Thank you. Yes, we're very proud of that event. 10 years ago, we started out our Champions Cup, our first ever tournament back in 2009, and I was inspired. It's funny how things work out in this world. My inspiration to someday host and run a big tournament came from attending a San Diego surf event back in 2006. It was the first time I went down to San Diego and went to this event that I had heard about.
Right.
I walked into that place down at the polo fields in Del Mar, and 24 soccer fields, just
Full.
Beautiful facility and teams from all over the country, right? And I was just so inspired by what I saw. I thought,
Right.
man, someday not only do I want to have my own club, I was already thinking about it at the time,
Right.
but thinking about starting my own club
Right.
back in 2006.
Yeah.
Just before I actually went through with it is when I attended this event while I was still part of another organization. But then also I thought, man, and wouldn't it be wonderful to have something like this in the Central Valley,
Right.
right? An event, a huge event like this. So those thoughts never left my mind. A few years later, I kind of realized that it was time to give it a shot and run our first tournament.
Right.
And we put it out there, and we were pretty happy that we actually got 45 teams to attend.
45.
That's
For our first
fantastic.
year, yeah.
First year,
It was so
that's
exciting, and I think part of it was the name,
Right.
Champions Cup. If
Yeah.
you guys are familiar with soccer, one of the largest soccer, this probably the second largest soccer competition in the world behind the World Cup, is the Champions Cup,
Oh, okay.
and that's played in Europe. The top teams in Europe play against each other
Right.
for the championship, right? So it's a massive competition, little kids, and I mean it's a huge event. So that's where I got the idea of the name. I thought, these kids, they come to play at our event, they're gonna say, oh, I'm gonna play in the Champions Cup, right?
Right,
and
right.
they're gonna feel like they're actually playing in such a competition. So we were pleased with the 45 team turnout, and then from there we went from 45 teams, and I remember these numbers pretty well because
You lived it.
I lived them. So
Yeah.
we went from 45 teams to 89 teams the next year to 120 something teams by the third year, 150, 108, 86,
Wow.
220 teams. So last year we hosted, well over 300 teams.
Here
at
in,
the event.
in little downtown Stockton.
No,
Well,
not-
Well,
no.
at
But
5 fields. Right?
how many
We
you had
have-
different venues?
We had 4 venues.
I got
4
you.
Yeah.
venues.
But now, Ben, where do these teams? Not all from California,
Some come from out of state.
right?
The majority are from California.
Wow.
With
Wow.
many of them being from Southern California,
Sure.
up north as well, from as far north as Redding, Yuba City,
Wow.
Lake Tahoe, Reno. The Bay Area is a big supporter of our events, and then many Central Valley teams as well.
Now, did the surf change? With you going over to a surf soccer club, has that? Do you think that you got a little boost on that from this last Champions Cup?
I think so. I think it played a role in the growth that we saw this year.
Yeah.
It was, I think it did. I think it has. It's now called the Surf Champions Cup, and surf has always been a
Yeah.
huge event,
Right.
known everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that that has definitely been helpful, has helped. But we host we've always been big on
Obviously.
on not just having top level competition,
Right.
but the presentation.
So
Yeah.
as you as a director of this tournament, you have to get referees and all the
Everything.
logistics. I mean,
Everything.
Yes.
concession stands and actually venues to play at, and
Yeah.
that's a big undertaking.
Yeah,
Big
we actually at this last one we had almost 400 teams.
Wow.
Is what we hosted.
Yeah, pretty
And that's
close to
from
Yeah.
all
100.
age groups,
Yeah.
right?
In all age groups,
Right.
yeah, boys
That's
and
still-
girls from U9 through U19.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
we
fantastic.
had college coaches out there, scouting players, usually the older players,
Right.
and then we had 4 different sites, and yeah, just I think for that weekend we used about 300 referees,
Wow.
and we played almost 1,000 matches in 2 days.
Holy.
It was
as
a
we say in the
massive
hockey thing,
undertaking.
holy buckets.
Yeah, it was a massive job. I don't
It's
sleep
amazing.
that week of the event.
I know, but what's amazing, and I've been to these, what's amazing is how you guys pull it off. I mean, you don't have a huge staff, but you know what you're doing, and you know what you got to get in place to.
And
to
you
make it
thought you
happen.
did a big job with the Lions All-Star game.
Oh, my God.
Which was one,
Oh.
but you did do a good job.
Yeah.
I'm just,
But
but
I
that
mean,
was
this
one
is-
deal in one
Oh
event.
my God, yeah, and I'll tell you what, what's really impressive, like this year, the teams were from all over, and I was on the Miracle Mile on that Saturday working on the Miracle Mile, and I saw teams coming in to eat from out of from San Jose, from all over California. They were all coming. They were coming out. They're spending money in Stockton because of the Champions Cup.
Yeah, you can't find an empty hotel room the weekend of our event. in
Right.
September.
When is it this coming year? What you
It's-
got it? I'm sure you have it.
So we run is the last weekend of September. The
Last-
big one is what we call the big one. But
Yeah.
now we had so much success with that event over the years that a few years back we decided to hold other events. So now we have our Spring Champions Cup, which is in May. We had just over 100 teams this past year,
That's
which is
good.
good.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we decided to do an event just for the little ones, which we call the Junior Champions Cup,
Right.
that we hosted in July. And in our first try, we had almost 70 teams for our
Wow,
first event.
that's fantastic.
So we're excited
man.
about this
Dude, you should
this
be.
coming year
That's a heck of
and
a
the
job.
success of our events. And then I just got word today that we're going to be hosting. So we play for a regional league, a statewide league that's called NorCal Premier Soccer League. That's our parent league.
Right.
Our teams play league and stake up within that organization.
Right.
And we've been hosting a really nice event for them for the last few years that's called a Play Date. It's just for the little ones and it's just for fun. There's no trophies, no medals like in our events.
Right.
It's just a Sunday of games for the little guys and
And this
3
is like
games.
9 and under or 8 and under.
It's U9 through U11.
Oh,
so it's
so
just
it
for the
is-
little ones.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And so we've hosted that event for a few years on behalf of NorCal Premier League, and we've people love to come to. There's multiple of these play dates. It's called a play date.
Right.
There's multiple of them, multiple of those events throughout this in the summertime, spring and summer, and people really like ours because we bring out all the gear, right? We have all this equipment and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
from our own events.
Right.
Right.
So when we host this event,
It's a big deal.
It's a
To
big
them,
deal
they
to them.
come
They're like, "Oh my God!"
8
right?
to 11 years
The-
old, and they're going
That's-
to the
that's
Super
like
Bowl.
these
You know what
guys.
I mean?
It's like
It's like these-
Disneyland for them.
Yeah.
These guys behind me playing in the arena rather than Oak
Right,
Park. It's a
right.
big.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to them to go out there and play.
So we're gonna host a total of 5 events this coming year.
Wow.
events.
So I'm excited at the same time a little bit. Always I'm as an event director, when you're running events as magnitude, you have to be a little OCD,
Yeah.
which I am, right?
Yeah.
Everything has to be perfect, and
Yeah.
And yet you
I'm-
came on our show. That's
so I have to, when we're out there setting up for our events and everything has to be just perfect. The flags, the easy ups, the decorations.
Oh, and you do such a nice job.
And so we're big on presentation. We're big on competition. I want to thank our coaches, our team managers, and our also we have our parents from our teams.
Right.
They do a wonderful job of helping us run these events. Without them, we couldn't do it.
Now let me ask you. and you just thank them. So the 98% of the parents are good. Do you have those parents that you go, they're still on? No, I mean, that's felt even in our stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you get we call them helicopter parents.
Yes.
Yes. So you do have
Oh,
them.
yeah,
We just thought
we
they
get
came and
that
played hockey.
sometimes,
We
yeah.
didn't know that they played.
We as our club leadership, we appreciate all our parents. But we understand that everyone's different
Right.
personalities, and we work with those helicopter parents
Yeah.
to show them exactly, get them to understand how this process works.
And getting back to that, I was the president of Stockton Colts, which is our youth here in
okay,
Stockton.
right.
Anyhow, we'd have parent meetings right after they had tryouts and your kids on the team and blah blah blah. And I can't tell you, and I did it for 7 years. I finally somebody else stepped up this year, and thank goodness. But I used to tell them, you can't grade this on wins and losses. Our coaching staff and our leader, Derek Eisler, does, I mean, it's just what you said. It was so amazing to me to hear this from a different perspective, that it's not about wins and losses. And I used to tell them, it's from what your kid did when they started this season and where their level of compete was at the end. If they've improved, it's the job well done.
Exactly. It's all about, we stress the fact that our motto is that we offer the best player experience and opportunities.
Right.
It's not, you're not going to remember that you beat this team 3 years ago and this and that. Is the experience of participating,
Right.
And the opportunities that we provide the players.
And the experience, like you're talking about, every once in a while, everything in your organization comes completely together, where you have the athletes, you have the coaches, you have the organization, and something magnificent happens. And tell me about this team.
Yeah.
This is your 2013 U15 team?
They were U15 at the time.
Tell me
Yes.
about this team, because this is where, you don't get very many runs like this, but this team had many years of championship caliber.
That newspaper article is from 2013. Our U13 boys at the time had just won a national championship after winning a state title. They qualified for nationals. And so we went to Denver, Colorado, and played the best of the best in the country from thousands and thousands of teams in their age group. That only the state champions had qualified for nationals. And we came home with the national championship, the first ever in the history of Stockton and the Central Valley.
For youth soccer or
For youth soccer at the time, yeah.
youth soccer at the time.
Yeah.
So you guys were national champions.
We were the number one team in the nation. That summer was a historic summer. I have not seen another team in my coaching career,
right.
my experience, did what that group of boys did that summer. They won a state title in
Right.
spring,
Right.
and then over the summer, they went from state championship. They won they won the Surf Cup,
Right.
which was
Surf
a big
Cup,
deal down in
yes,
San Diego.
big one, yeah.
And then they went but just before Surf Cup is when they won nationals. So they went from Colorado straight to San Diego to
Yeah.
play at Surf Cup.
Yeah.
So they won, and then they ended up winning the Surf College Cup later on that year,
Yeah.
as well as the Santa Clara Sporting Tournament, which was the number one tournament in Northern California at the time.
Right.
So they won those back-to-back huge events that
Yes.
any team would love to win one of those.
Right.
Yeah, right.
These guys,
Did it
they
all.
won them all.
And they
that's-
had a run of about, was it like a 3-year run from like what was it, U15, 16, 17?
Yes.
They had quite a run. I mean, where they were ranked like number one in the nation
For about 3 years.
for
yeah.
about 3 years.
Yes.
That is absolutely amazing. And these kids,
Uh-oh,
they
here we go.
came from the Central Valley.
Yeah, most of them from Stockton.
Yeah, and most of
Yeah.
them from Stockton.
Yes.
What an amazing ride that was.
Yeah, no one ever imagined that a team of that caliber could be put together, especially here in the Central Valley.
Right.
You know,
Wow,
there had
wow.
been teams
Turned some heads,
there had
right?
been teams in Southern California, in the Bay Area
Sure.
that had done some
But
pretty
what's the
impressive things.
population down there?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. Tip your hat to you guys and your coaches.
Thank you.
We got to wrap this up. I'm getting the 1 minute warning sign from our good friend Toby Bell.
I
So, go ahead.
Sure. I just want to add that
Yeah,
Sure.
we're having our upcoming club tryouts. They're in May. People can visit our website at cvsurf.org, and we'll be posting details and dates and times in the coming weeks.
Get out there. This sounds like a great organization. If your children or young men are interested in soccer, I'm not interested, but I'm going to come out and watch one of your events.
We'd love to
because
have you
it's-
guys.
God, you
We'd
got to
love
go
to
to
have
you.
Champions Cup. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
without you, Roy, you'll go by
Yeah,
yourself.
we'll go together.
We'll
We'll
go
go
together
together.
in the same car.
Chase car guys.
Yeah, chase car. Oh, that's right, both of us
Yes.
together.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Roy,
Look
you have any
forward to-
final
Yeah,
thoughts?
I just want to say, I know how hard Ben, works because it's his passion. I know how hard Vince works. I know how hard all your staff works. And you know what? The biggest thing to me is not only are you doing what your vision was, and that was to give these kids an opportunity to take their game to the next level, right?
Yes.
And to get scholarships, and you're doing that. You're doing what you had envisioned, So it's what you're giving back to our community is absolutely amazing, man.
Thank you.
I just want to let you know that it is noticed out in the community. All our business community leaders, and I know that you're out in the community on a regular basis. They know what your contribution is to Stockton and San Joaquin Valley and in the area that your players.
Thank
come
you for
from.
that. It means a lot. Yes.
Absolutely. I have his second on that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I don't know how it's been tough because my business is based out of the Bay Area, right? So
Yeah.
I work out of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I
and
feel
so
sorry for you about that.
to run this organization
Yeah.
and keeping a full-time job
Right.
and
Very
in
difficult.
the electronics industry, electronics manufacturing has been challenging, but I'm going to do it as long as I can. And,
Yeah.
but if I decide to walk away from this one of these days,
Right.
I'm not going to do this forever.
Right.
At least the structure is put in
Right.
place.
Right.
So that
Foundation is
the
there.
foundation is there so that
Exactly.
this will continue.
But you'll never
Without
walk
me.
away from it. You might walk away from your job,
Yeah.
but never this. This is your passion.
I love
It's
soccer.
too tough. He loves soccer. He'll always have
Hey,
his
our
hands on it
our
somehow.
next show was scheduled on the 25th.
On the 25th.
So
are you
Roy
gonna
and I.
are you going to tune in on Christmas?
No, we will not be here. We'll be home with our families. Merry Christmas to everybody listening, and a Happy New Year. We will be back on the air with the Chase Car Guys on January 8th. January 8th, mark it down. I got to get a quick note in on this Saturday at St. Mary's High School. The boys are having a pancake breakfast. Come out and enjoy. All the proceeds go to the hockey team. We'd appreciate it. My smiling face will be out there. I'm sure Roy's will. I know Toby Bell behind me running the board will be there. So
Pancake eating contest.
come, yeah, exactly.
good.
It sounds like we got something to talk about. Anyhow, I want to wish everybody again a Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We're
Merry
not
Christmas,
saying
everyone.
we're not saying Happy Holidays in this show, babe. We're real people. We have
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Exactly.
everyone.
And happy holidays.
And we'll see you
to
back
all.
on the 8th. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.